Okay, welcome you to the PMO Strategies podcast. This is going to be an event valuable to you for your knowledge and for your advancement in the career. The purpose of this podcast I'm going to talk about is to take you through these four areas and to help you. I'm going to bring you the introduction of the PMO strategies. Then I will move to purpose of strategies corner podcast, this event, and then we will go to the uh, guest who is here with us. His insightful views and experiences will be captured. Thereafter, at the end, again, I'm going to explain you what PMO strategies is preparing to bring the services to the business industries. So this is how we are going to proceed. And let me go to the first stage. What this podcast essentially is bringing to the business professionals and business managers. The purpose of this podcast is to bring you the views, experience, and wisdom of the learned and experienced business professionals who have extensively worked in the business and they have the knowledge to help you out and bring you their opinion and their knowledge for bringing you a second opinion in your present challenges. So that is the basic purpose, and for that uh, we have a very learned professional who is going to share his knowledge and experience. And before that, let me bring you my introduction. My name is M. Aslam Mirza. Assalamu alaikum. I am the founder and CEO of PMO Strategies. And PMO Strategies essentially is to help business to move in strategic directions. My expertise and the expertise of my team is essentially on the strategic project management, which is the basic knowledge area to help businesses to move in strategic directions. I have very extensive exposure to business and industries, and that extensive exposure includes the construction also, because I started as a construction engineer in construction. Spent about 30 years, and I manage a construction company in CEO and MD position as well. I would only like to draw your attention to my four books, which are written on the theme of project management and leadership. And the theme is aura. Aura is AURA. Aura is a distinctive environment surrounding a person with energies and a team as well. When they have the high level of expertise, high level of knowledge, and high level of competence. So, in that perspective, these four books are written, and following that aura, A goes for applying project management principles for organizational transformation. U goes for understanding human factors and workplace environment. R goes for respecting diversity, building team meaningfulness, and growing to leadership. Or that again goes for agility in project management and collaboration. So, if these four areas of the knowledge presented in the book is gone through, I believe that the individual and the team will reach to that aura level which really it stands for. So, for that, let me go and move on to the next area. And here I have the knowledgeable and business professional, Dr. Richard Timpone, who has very extensive exposure to businesses. And before that, he had extensive exposure to the knowledge. And let's have capture his knowledge and experience. And in details, I will request Dr. Richard to please bring his own introduction. I just want to hold myself because I may not be able to touch upon all the areas which are important and your strength areas are there. So please, Dr. Richard.
Thanks so much, Mohammed. So as Mohammed mentioned, my name is Rich Timpone. My career has spanned multiple phases. I was founded, I it's all built on my academic background. So I had been teaching in uh, social and behavioral sciences, but with technical modeling, analytics, so advanced statistics, as well as machine learning and AI, to understand individual behavior. And I left academia and first went to the client side um, with Nationwide Insurance, subsidiaries of Nationwide Insurance and Financial, where I did workforce analytics, modeling there, and then marketing strategy and business strategy for some of their companies. Um, Transitioning from there, I moved into the supplier side with research and advisory work. Previously was with Ipsos, a global market research company, where I led business divisions as well as their global science, neuroscience, behavioral science, as well as data science and AI. Um, and that's what I'll focus on as I think about the business complexities that Mohammed will talk about in a moment. Because I left Ipsos, I founded my company, Utopian Works, which is um, a for-profit company. We believe very much in business, in supporting our clients, but we're a public benefit corporation. So along with profit, we actually have incorporated standards and accountabilities for public benefits of advancing effective and responsible AI use, as well as bridging societal divides. So as we think of some of those complex external elements in your environment, the technology changes, the political landscape, how it's all sort of in flux. That's very much what we're looking at and what I'll focus on today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doctor. Before I ask you the first question regarding the complexity, managing business complexities, let me share the area of complexities for the for the listening interest of our participants. Let me go through the external areas to start with. That is global market volatility, technology changes, regulatory landscape, increasing competition, climate change, cybersecurity, geopolitical uncertainty, supply chain disruption. So this all encompass the external area which influence any organizations and brings the complexities. In the internal area, it starts from talent acquisition and retention, DEI and B, diversity, equity, inclusivity, and belonging, organizational culture and engagement, digital transformation, informed decision making, leadership development, change management, communication breakdown. So these internal complexities influence organizations to face the challenges. Then the operational area, it encompasses managing remote workforce, streamlining processes, quality control, managing logistics, customer satisfaction, adapting AI and blockchain, managing intellectual property, mitigating risk. In strategic arena, the complexities are innovating business model, identifying uh, new markets, building strategic partnership, managing mergers and acquisition, competitive advantage, fostering innovation and research and development, managing global expansion, sustainable business strategies. So all these are the minimum which I have collected down here, and these are continuously under pressure of increasing. So with those increasing complexities, We have a learned guest who is going to share his experience and knowledge, how he has been able to manage all this or through this. So my first question to Dr. Richard is, how are you managing business advancements in the prevalent challenges of business complexities in the present time? This is my first question. Dr. Richard, please.
Sure, thanks. So as we look at sort of the list of the business complexities, it's not just that we've got all of these elements that Mohammed has sort of gone through, but the nature of the environment has changed dramatically. So I actually like to use the framework if you've noticed, my company, we are a veteran-owned and managed business. And the framework that the U.S. Army sort of developed to understand the world stage after the Cold War, the idea of a VUCA environment. So it's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex and ambiguous. So volatile talks about the speed and amount of change. And what we're seeing in the external environment is changes that are unprecedented in terms of what the landscape looks like. And the uncertain is that it's less predictable in the past. So that is partly due to the complexity, where there are many factors, as we can see here, and they tie together, but in nonlinear, complex ways. But there's ambiguity, and that's part of the challenge we have right now, is that things are unclear. There are multiple interpretations to many things. And so as we think about that, that is the idea of a VUCA environment, is the nature of the current business landscape that all of you are in. And so as my plan is to focus primarily today thinking about the technology changes, we are in an unprecedented era where AI is changing things on a weekly basis, if not daily. And that, in the complex environment, feeds through and has implications for strategy, operations, your internal management. And there are a lot of different opinions on this, from those who are basically arguing that if you don't jump in, you're going to be left behind and you're at risk, to the other side. Actually, there was just an article in yesterday's Wall Street Journal. Professor Peppard, Joe Peppard from University College Dublin in Ireland, basically argued that most companies shouldn't have an AI strategy. And I fundamentally disagree with that, because I think what we disagree with is what strategy is. So having been working in the C-suite, advising leadership teams, when I think of strategy, it's about setting goals and planning the implementation to achieve them. So this is where it's not about the 5-year plan. It's not about creating a role for a chief AI officer, but it's about understanding what your board, your employees, your strategic partners are going to want to know is, what are you doing with AI? And maybe we're waiting. We are too early in this for our company. We don't have the infrastructure, and we are going at a measured pace. That's fine, as long as it is intentional. So that is a strategy. A strategy doesn't mean everything is being converted to AI, that you're incorporating it as part of your workforce, you're redesigning all of your products. But the strategy is something that your employees and your teams will want to know. What are the plans around this? Because they are hearing so much about the potential, the opportunity, and it has huge implications for project management. because that's all about the implementation part. So as we think about the strategy, how you're meeting your business goals, is AI going to change them and create new opportunities? And we're in a new era of hype around AI, and we'll talk about that because Professor Pepper in his comments basically called out that, well, often companies shouldn't be doing things. Let your employees at the ground level experiment, but you need to have guardrails. You need to avoid risks. And that alone, so as we think about the workforce, the operational elements to tie into your strategy, you need to be able to create some clear guidance for them. And that's where it's not about transitioning everything to AI, but having a clear plan. And this is one of the things, a thread through my career, from when I was doing machine learning, wrote a monograph with a former provost of Kansas State University, Chuck Tabor, on computational modeling, machine learning, almost 30 years ago now, where we developed the framework of truth, beauty, and justice for evaluating models, for evaluating AI. And that's, as you think about the opportunities, as you think about the risk and the opportunities, it's about thinking through what can AI do for your business objectives. What can it do about your business model, about creating competitive advantage? So as we think through the strategic things and how, before we get to what we need to do to achieve them, the first question is, are the tools capable to do what you want to do? And this is where the framework, truth is about the accuracy. Are the models producing what you want, what you need? There are recent articles right now. Zillow is outing the fact that they just had their marketing team create new apps for the company without a single engineer. They don't need software engineers anymore because anybody can use AI tools. And that creates major risks because, yes, they may have a tool that perhaps does what it intends, but are they doing the level of testing that your IT teams would be basically holding the standards that we always had to do and must do? Many of these teams don't know how to test, and just because code is produced does not mean it's accurate. I use it myself. They're great assistants. 40% of the code that Google is developing these days is generated by AI, but it's being leveraged by knowledgeable experts, by teams that know how to implement data governance standards, security issues. It goes beyond simply implementing code, and a prompt to tell an AI code development tool produce something is not necessarily going to get the results you want in terms of the truth. And it may create risks for the business. So as we go from truth to accuracy, we talk about beauty. Beauty is about, we're using these tools to replace humans in many environments. Is the interaction as rich and fertile as an interaction with a person? Does it matter? It depends, again, on your use case. One of the areas that we see very frequently is the use of synthetic data, that we don't need primary research and other things today, that as you're exploring how to approach each of these complexities, we can leverage AI to give us insights, but maybe it's getting the average response, but not the richness. That can have real consequences for how you use these tools. And the third criteria that I mentioned, justice, that is about responsible AI ethics. It's about data privacy. It's about data security. It's about the rights of the data producers. These are things that can create risk depending on how the tools are used. And again, it comes down to what is the intent, what is the plan, how are you exploring? And some companies today are allowing employees to bring their BYO AI, bring your own AI. They're running ChatGPT. If you don't tell your employees what is permissible, they'll use these because the tools are incredibly helpful for creating reports, for their emails, for basic tasks that are repetitive. But using some of these tools can, if they're putting employee data in it, client data in it, you may be violating GDPR, you may be violating contracts, you may be putting the company at risk. And that's why having a strategy, having a plan for what you're doing and communicating it clearly is key. And that's actually, Mohammed, I was thinking your last blog post yourself, which was all about communication. That is so critical because that is basically about, given the complexity, given the uncertainty and disruption, the need for effective and strong communications. And that is exactly what we've seen. If you haven't seen it, and actually, Mohammed, I'm thinking if we can put a link with the post when the podcast is listed. Microsoft has an AI readiness framework and AI platform that I helped develop with the researchers at Microsoft, so Susan Ettlinger, as well as Ipsos, that basically helps say, okay, we want to implement this, we've got goals. Now, how do we go about this? It gets into the operational questions, the internal ones. And just like your blog post, Mohammed, the number one thing for companies from those piloting through the most mature was actually not on tech platforms, but it was on organizational culture issues. And the thread, unlike every other dimension, so when we talk about governance, when we talk about business strategy, when we talk about AI experience and technology, depending on your level of maturity, what you should focus on varies for each of those. But for organizational and cultural elements, for every company, it is about leadership having a clear vision of what they want to accomplish and communicating that repeatedly and clearly to employees. So whether you are just starting out and just setting guardrails for your employees, or you are a very mature tech-based company, leadership communication is the number one thing for you to be focusing on. So yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting area. It's going to be changing things. So as we think about the internal workforce, the workforce has been evolving for centuries. The nature of work and AI is going to be a major tool to empower our employees with things like the coding assistants, and it will replace some people. So we're already seeing that in some call centers and other areas. And how we integrate our external partners, our consultants, our gig workers with our employees, and now with AI agents, all of that needs to be thought of as part of the strategic internal workforce management. And the processes and planning needs to include those as well. And so it's about understanding what is possible, and there's a lot that's possible, but also the risks. So last month at the Wall Street Journal CIO Summit, Brent Taylor, the chair of OpenAI, basically said, stop asking if it's going to do things wrong, because it is. Accept it's going to be wrong, and just mitigate the risks. And it's like, well, that's fine for some areas, but it's your brand, it's your reputation. And many of my clients, there are legal risks. And that goes back, the Zillow example. If there are data privacy, security issues, I work with a company that wanted to create an app, but they're a regulated company that they must report adverse conditions and events very quickly because there are health issues at stake. And AI, if it is not set up to ensure that those regulatory aspects are met, they're in violation of the law. And so Brett Taylor's comment that it's like, yeah, just accept that it's wrong. Well, that's fine in areas without risk. But even your brand reputation is a major risk, because people don't care if they're interacting with an AI agent or a person in the US or a person in India. That is a brand touch point, and that's creating an experience. And AI is going to be creating that experience. And if it just gets it wrong and creates a really negative one, that's something that you want to be testing the accuracy, the beauty, the justice. It can't be biased. It has to be delivering what you want it to and the experience you want. And the tools are getting better, and they are great in many areas. But the burden is on every one of us to evaluate them, to ensure that the tools are not only effective, but they're responsibly deployed. So I think that was
very true, very true. Very, in fact, rightly you have mentioned that human ingenuity cannot be ignored. And only recently I completed a course with PMI on AI in infrastructure and projects. And they said that since you are the project manager, you are responsible for the outcomes, you are responsible for the results. So no matter what help you are getting from AI, but it is your responsibility to see that whatever solution has brought by AI is workable, is going to take you to that level of outcomes you want. If not, then make the correction. So yeah, it's up to you that you are getting the help from the AI. Okay, fair enough. But the end result is your responsibility. If you are meeting that responsibility, fair enough, go ahead. But if not, yes, one thing is good, that with AI you can have repetitive trial and error. You can come up, you can go along in a very short time, you can find out how many different solutions could be there. But whatever solution is suggested by AI, it is your responsibility to put that into effect and to go for the desired results if it is supportive. Very right, very right. Thank you very much, doctor. You have been very kind to share this, because this is now I have seen in the business that people say, well, this is suggested by AI. That means their hands are cut now. They have to go by it. No, it is not. It is only a suggestion. It's only a second opinion. So that's how it should be done. In fact, just for the sake of discussion, I'm using AI for brainstorming. Instead of going to a team, I go for brainstorming through AI, so that I can get the different opinions and find out what best can be put to use. That's how it should be.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
And
Yeah.
that's a great example. But the interesting thing is with the new AI agents that take autonomous action, a lot of companies are moving from the philosophy that you just shared, that you have the responsibility and can leverage this as input, to actually allow it to take action on its own. And that's where we have to hold the standards up even higher, because the less that humans are in the loop, the more we need to ensure that it is meeting the standards that we need for our businesses to be successful. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Because businesses cannot go on faulty things, of course. Because if you are reaching to the customers in a best manner they want, then only the business will go on. Otherwise, you will lose the business. So the choice is yours. Very right. Okay, let me move to the next area. To my questions now is that with all these challenges and with all this turmoil and with all this disruption, what is your suggestion and your wisdom to advise to the business managers to move to the next level of performance? What should they do and how should they do?
Yep. And that's actually our philosophy, the name of my company itself. So the idea of a protopia is, as opposed to a utopia or a dystopia, which focuses on sort of a destination, a idealized or a really dysfunctional future destination. A protopia is about an ongoing journey of continuous improvement and progress. And so that's what you need to be thinking, is you are on a journey. And so what should your next step be? And this is where thinking through the technology, it depends where you are today. So if you're just starting out, experiment, but that's where set clear guardrails, be very cautious about what your staffs are doing, what tools they're bringing, if you're not providing them for them themselves. So, but as you're experimenting, and this is actually from the work with Microsoft, so that report, the ebook on AI readiness that we can provide the link to, actually highlights that it's about getting experience, but thinking about what are business goals. So it's not just looking at a shiny object. It's about how can this be used to achieve things for you. For those of you already piloting, it's about linking it to the business use cases. It's about those business goals. It's about having clear leadership guidance that's integrating the different elements of the internal and operational processes that you've got to meet the business goals. And for those companies that are already mature and building this, it's about embedding it throughout the processes, throughout your project management strategy, throughout the processes, throughout your workforce, to make it an integrated part and not a separate one just led by IT. Because if you do that, it's not going to have the value for the business itself. And so the more it's integrated, but it depends, your next step depends on where you are today. But in all of those, having leadership communicate clearly where you are for your internal staff will make it more effective. Mohammed?
Thank you very much for your so strong suggestion, and definitely it is helpful. Okay, let me move to the next area, that what PMO strategies can bring to the business industry. Uh, the expert services it brings to the business industries, or diagnostic assessment of gaps in strategy and execution. Because the failure, one of the biggest reason for failure is that the strategy is not aligned in the way it is required, and the gaps are not managed in an effective manner. So to manage those gaps, it needs to be identified. So PMO strategies can help you in that area, and it can help you to move with strategic alignment and to move with disciplined strategy execution. That means uh, uh, each goal which has got the translation into projects and initiative needs to be done in that way, so that you can monitor the progress, you can manage the advancements, and on top of everything you can manage the change taking place in the environment, because if something needs to be changed before going to the completion, you can manage it right on its way. So that's the biggest area which is provided by strategic PMO strategies. The second area is PMO functions optimization. If the organization have their own PMO in house, the PMO strategies can help them to maximize their outputs, to help them in organizing, because essentially the PMO is a center of excellence. It needs to be transformed to center of excellence. And now in the present time, AI leverage PMO center of excellence is the solution, because project management has got the privilege of having a disciplined way of AI leveraging into project management application. So with that, you can enjoy that facility, you can enjoy that expertise. The third area is change management and cultural in transformation. The culture is the basic thing for every and any organization, because culture is the area which can make or break the business, because that is the added advantage and added influence which helps move business in the required directions. So creating that culture, crafting that culture, PMO strategies can help you out in that. The fourth area is leadership development, mentoring, and coaching, because leadership are the basic ingredient, basic tool who can help move the organizations in their strategic directions. So leadership, project management is leadership intensive endeavor. So PMO strategies can help you out in development of strategic advancements and through leadership development. Further on, in the training area, these PMO strategies can help you out in building resilient and adaptable teams and leaders, because having those workforce, if helps you to move in the required directions with the force you need to go on. It can help you in enhancing communication and collaboration, because without having effective communication, you just cannot manage your business in a better way. Driving innovation and creativity. This is the basic need in the present time. And I was reading that innovation economy is taking place, because now everything is dependent on innovation. But for that, you need to drive the whole organization to go into that direction. The fourth area is developing strategic thinking and problem solving skills. This is again one simple sentence, but has got a long area of training. So organizations can take these advantage of developing strategic thinking and problem solving. With this, thank you very much for your time, for your attention, and for your learning interest. Here is the final slide that helps you to reach out for scheduling a presentation on the value proposition of PMO Center of Excellence. If you are interested to know more about PMO Center of Excellence, you can schedule a presentation for that. There are training sessions available for upskilling of the business managers, and the link is provided here. You can try that. Strategy Corner podcast like this one is there to help you out to have the second opinion and learning interest of the business managers. With this, thank you very much, and I look forward to 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 your comments and to your observations on this. Before I close down, I will request Dr. Rich to share if something finally comes to his mind and he wants to bring up to the attention of the participants. Please.
Um, Actually, the only thought I had was when I kept talking about the need for a strategy, that's not only for senior leadership, that's for whatever level you're at, to have a plan, to think big picture, make sure it aligns with your company's plans. But you all have the opportunity to take advantage of these things and to think through what we were saying. So, create plans, think about what's possible, but be sure to evaluate, communicate, and explore. And hopefully, you get some great value out of the new tools and opportunities.
Before you finalize it, Doctor, I will request you to give few words on Bayesian model because that is very much needed in the present time of uncertainty and disruption. So what do you say about that?
So, there are different types of Bayesian models. So, Bayesian thinking itself, which is about updating, it's about that continuous improvement. How can we leverage the information in the analytics we're doing? So, as opposed to classical statistics, where we're basically building from a sample of data each time, with Bayesian statistics, we're building on past knowledge and past information, and it allows us to go further, faster. We're leveraging some of that, but also Bayesian networks, which allow us to look at the connections between different elements. And that's part of the complexity of all of that we were talking about, that interrelationship. So with Bayesian analysis, there are great opportunities for updating based on our past knowledge, and this builds on our understanding of human psychology and learning itself, both machine and human, as well as the Bayesian networks that let us see the more complex interactions as opposed to traditional models that treat independent variables, because so much is now interrelated. And there are great opportunities for businesses to leverage both, take your thinking further, and create new insights that are more actionable than you may realize today. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because I realize that in the present time of uncertainty, the informed decision making is very difficult. So for that, Bayesian model is very much helpful, and your input is definitely will help the business managers. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.